So I got this book about 2 weeks ago, and I think it's a really good book. I'm going to read the back. The greatest battle you'll ever win is the one within yourself. For decades, Jason Wilson was losing the war within, the internal battle that many men wage daily but were never taught how to win. As a result, he could not combat his toxic thoughts and emotions. Instead, he was conquered by them and communicated without composure, hurting those he loved and himself. This went on until he renewed his mind by releasing years of past trauma. His life and relationships were transformed when he learned how to master his emotions and express them with self-control. In the process, Jason became a better husband, father, and leader. In Battle Cry, Jason equips you with the mental and spiritual weapons needed to wage and win your inner war by showing you how to master your emotions rather than be ruled by them, win internal battles before they become external wars, reject the world's definition of masculinity and embrace comprehensive manhood, communicate more effectively with people in your life, and release trauma from your past so you can live fully to your potential in the present. You can live beyond the limitations of your mind and finally experience the life you've always longed for. You can break through what you've been through. It's time to win the war within. Quick background on Jason Wilson. He is the founder and CEO of The Union, a non-profit youth development organization in Detroit, Michigan. He is also the director of the Cave of Adullam Transformational Training Academy and the author of Cry Like a Man. He received the President's Volunteer Service Award from President Obama for his work with youth in Detroit and was the inspiration for an award-winning episode of the hit TV show This Is Us. He is a faithful husband of more than 23 years and a proud father of 2 beautiful children. And I kind of want to just skip to chapter 10. I don't really know what chapter 10 entails, but I do know that this is not applicable for everyone. This is not applicable for everyone. Chapter 10, it says, "Rest now or rest in peace. It is vain for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat the bread of painful labors. For he, Yah, Jesus, God, gives to his beloved even in his sleep, or their sleep." Psalms 127, verse 2. That was that. And the chapter begins, "I woke up one Friday morning a few years after feeling off. I'd had 2 great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes that week, but something didn't feel right. I was no longer shaken by the negative effects of watching my beloved mother mentally deteriorate from dementia, but the emotional journey with her had taken a toll on me physically. I knew something was wrong internally. My energy was zapped, so I took the advice of a friend and made an appointment with a holistic doctor. When I walked into the clinic, I sensed it was a divine appointment. I could feel Yah's grace, and whenever I say Yah, or whenever he says Yah, we are referring to God. I could feel Yah's grace covering me as gospel music filled the waiting room. I soon learned that the holistic doctor, Abadayah, was also a pastor. Being leery of naturopathic, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Naturopathic methods. I purposefully did not tell him what was bothering me. I figured he was good, or I figured if he was good, he would know what was wrong. He took my blood, urine, and saliva, then proceeded to tell me everything that was going on with my body. He knew which side of my back had been hurting for years. He pointed out my knee injury. I thought he had tapped my phone. You name it, he knew it all just from reading my test results. He then pulled up a picture on a computer monitor and said, "These are your blood cells. This is not good." My blood was agglutinating, which means clumping together, and my energy reserves were life-threateningly low. I was at the doorstep of a heart attack. He said if I hadn't come in when I did, I probably would have died right after my mom passed in the coming months. The energy spent from caretaking and grieving would have overwhelmed my already stressed heart. He put me on a strict vegan diet for 4 months and told me to drink only distilled water. If that wasn't bad enough, his next instruction really made me cringe. He said I needed what most men seem to be allergic to: rest. He said I must rest and or sleep a minimum of 10 hours a day, and I was not to lift weights during this time period due to my tapped energy reserves. He even went so far as to say that when I read my Bible, I should turn the pages as slowly as possible. Suddenly, my active, energetic lifestyle looked like a slow-motion video in my mind. Of course, Abadiyah was joking about turning the pages slowly, but he wanted to place emphasis on the seriousness of my condition. "You've got to take care of yourself," he said. "I don't take care of myself, I take care of others," I responded. I had no idea what taking care of myself meant, but I knew I had to find out before it was too late. In today's grinding culture and people-pleasing society, we see rest as a sign of weakness, rather than a restoration of strength. We go and go and go until we literally can't go anymore. Then, when our health fails us, we realize our unrelenting quest for success derailed us. I now see why men jokingly refer to the toilet as a porcelain throne, because that's seemingly the only time we can sit longer than 5 minutes in peace. Yah's word says that if a man doesn't work, a man doesn't eat. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. This is a true adage. However, if we never cease work in order to rest, work will rest us in peace. We are worth more than our work. This may sound obvious, but the world we live in constantly and subconsciously tells us that our work determines our value. As a result, countless good men, and he didn't mention anything about women, but I'm going to, countless good men, or I think I shouldn't just change it. I'm just reading. As a result, countless good men have driven themselves to early graves, and this culture even has our wives and families temporarily deceived until they're planning our funerals. Trust me, if you don't take a break, you will eventually break. In one of my presentation slides for our emotional stability training on rest, I show images of elderly couples in restaurants, the mall, or around the neighborhood. Almost always, the wife is peppy, energetically moving around as the husband struggles to keep pace with his cane or walker. No wonder research shows that on average, women live longer than men. In fact, by age 80, 61% of those living are women. 61% of those that are living are women. And in 2010, 82% of centenarians were women. I don't know what centenarians mean, but yes, as men we were created to provide and protect, and the Most High has charged us to work, but He also commands us to rest. After the Most High created the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, in 6 days, he rested on the seventh day. And he set the seventh day apart and called it the Sabbath. Exodus chapter 20, verse 11, the Hebrew translation of Sabbath is intermission. To repose, that is, desist from exertion. Clearly, the Most High is not limited by a physical body, but he set apart this day for our benefit. Grinding away. Many of us subconsciously know that the grinding mentality is slowly killing us, but the fear associated with failure keeps us working when we need to rest, fighting when we need to seek peace, and warring when we need to pray. The word grind literally means to wear down by abrasion, to reduce to fine particles by crushing or pulverizing. It can also mean to oppress or torment. It's not a coincidence that people who say they are grinding or are on the grind look worn out. Their work is crushing and tormenting them. Years ago, if someone yelled grinding in a machinery shop, the supervisor would sound an alarm to stop all work until the issue was resolved. In our modern, fast-paced lives, we ignore the grinding warnings and substitute energy drinks and coffee for water and rest. This lifestyle leads to anxiety, insomnia, digestive issues, muscle breakdown, high blood pressure, rapid heart rate, and fatigue, not to mention caffeine dependency because you need more and more just to keep going. Though there's nothing wrong with an occasional cup of coffee, keep in mind that coffee is a counterfeit energy that creates additional stress in our bodies. As a result, men are exhausted, accomplishing their work but not Yah's perfect will for their lives. I used to be so caught up in the grind that I was afraid to get caught resting, until I broke free from emotional incarceration. I would anxiously jump up from a needed nap when I heard Nicole come home. I've surveyed many men of different ethnicities and socioeconomic statuses, and it's alarming how many of us are scared to take naps for fear of appearing lazy. This is such a tragedy because I've also asked dozens of women what they think of men taking naps, and all of them said they want their husbands to rest more. Now you might be thinking, yeah, they say that, but these bills are due. Trust me, I feel you. However, if taking a daily 15 to 20-minute nap stops you from providing for your family, you have a bigger problem. One afternoon in the Kata, the cave of Adullam Transformational Training Academy, as I was teaching our newly enrolled recruits, I glanced at the stage where the fathers sit and watch. I noticed that all of them looked exhausted. I had planned to teach the boys some basic defenses against an attack, but Yah told me to put my plans on hold and follow his lead. I asked all the fathers to take off their shoes and join their sons on the mats. After briefly discussing the basics of Shalak, I told them all to lie back, close their eyes, relax, and breathe. Within minutes, I could hear one of the fathers snoring. I then quietly tapped each of their sons on the shoulder and had them rise to a seated position. They were all very relaxed. I looked each of them in the eyes and said, I can teach you how to fight, but if I do not teach you how to rest, you will not have the energy to fight right. I asked them how it felt to rest after a long day at school. They responded with descriptions such as, refreshing, good sir, and I feel stronger. I then asked them to look at their fathers, who were all in a deep sleep across the mats by this time. When was the last time you saw your father rest during the day? I asked. Sadly, they all responded never. As result, or no, as fathers, it's imperative that we teach our sons to have good work ethic. The principle that hard work is intrinsically virtuous. or worthy of reward. However, it's counterproductive if we do not also show them that the rest ethic, the principle that rest is crucial for them to work productively. Studies reveal that a lack of adequate rest not only affects your physical health, but has a big impact on your mental health as well. Not getting the 7 or 8 hours of quality sleep you need can heavily influence your outlook, no life, energy level, motivation, and emotions. I'm going to read that again. Not getting the 7 or 8 hours of quality sleep you need can heavily influence your outlook on life, energy level, motivation, and emotions. When I asked the fathers to rise to a seated position, I was amazed at what 15 minutes had done for them. They all looked refreshed and relieved of the stress that was evident on their faces prior to the exercise. Before my health scare, I was one of those men who would say I would rest, but I have too much to do. That is, until my doctor responded, "Well, I'll see you at your funeral." As a father and husband, I must prioritize self-care. And I feel like, personally, we all need to prioritize self-care while, practicing humility. I feel like you just gotta, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have no advice. I'm just gonna keep reading. As a father and husband, I must prioritize self-care if I want to be there for my family. I cannot work the way I did 15 years ago and expect to have the energy needed to make a positive impact in my home and community. Warrior, you may believe you do well under pressure, but do not forget you're still under pressure. Refuse to allow your work, yes, even your selfless services to others, to cause you to lose your mind, health, marriage, and family. The words "take care of yourself" are not just words to be said when leaving, but wisdom you'd better heed if you want to keep living. Always remember, no one will ever stop you from helping them do more work, so it's up to you to stop grinding and start resting. Take off your cape. Y'all wants us to have an abundant life, but we can't have one if we live our lives trying to make everyone else happy. We have to take the Superman cape off because as long as we walk around like a superhero, people will keep asking us to do superhero things. I finally took my cape off and I have to remind myself daily that I am not Superman. I am a human. Take home improvement. For example, I am skilled with my hands in regards to construction, and as a result, we have a beautiful home except for that last room in the house that needed a complete remodel, the mudroom. Due to the demands and compassion fatigue associated with my work in the Cave of Adullam, filming a documentary, writing books, and speaking at all sorts of events, we budgeted to pay someone to install a porcelain floor and cabinets. But when I tore out the top layer of the existing floor, I discovered that the subfloor needed to be replaced. That repair took us over budget, and I had to install the floor and cabinets myself. In short, it was like dominoes. The mudroom project turned into the master bedroom project. The master bedroom project turned into the master bathroom project, and the master bathroom project turned into the living room project. Although I knew Nicole desired to renovate all those rooms, she didn't ask me because she knew how much was on my plate. But after I finished the mudroom, I was driven to fulfill my wife's desires. I jumped in with both feet to install a new subfloor, porcelain tile, cabinets, countertop, new doors, and it felt good to hear "That looks great, baby." But afterward, when I was alone, I became overwhelmed with anger because I had worked I'd worked a couple of months, 10 to 12 hours a day, without a day off. With little to no rest during that time, I ended up physically exhausted and emotionally depleted. This kind of behavior and subsequent attitude is unfair not only to Nicole and our children, but to myself. What I should have said to Nicole was, "Hey, I'm going to remodel the mudroom, and when I feel I have completely rested and recovered, we can start on the master bedroom project." Instead of working to prove my worth, I could have spared myself and my family the pain of resentment, and I could have enjoyed each project without depleting my energy. It's hard to take the cape off when it becomes your identity. Again, no one will ever stop you from helping them. It's up to you to renounce the superhero lifestyle. Never fret that you will lose your position when you have to temporarily step off the ladder of success to rest from a long work week or heal from emotional pain and/or trauma. Taking time to reflect will not hinder your progress. It will only empower you for a refreshed re-entry. But you must take the time. Keep in mind that Yah cannot fill your cup if you keep moving it. Believe it or not, when you remove the cape and start taking care of yourself, it's normal to be misunderstood by others, especially when you make the decisions Yah is leading you to make. From Abraham to Yahushua, we see this play out time and time again in the lives of those who subserviently follow the Most High. This is why it's imperative that we know His voice when it's spoken through His people or His word, so that we will follow Him. John chapter 10, verse 27. One day during a conversation about introspective reflection and decisions, I needed to make my friend Dr. Tim Bro ask me to ask Yah, what is it, or to ask me to ask Jesus, what is it you want me to know? Within seconds after I asked that question, Jesus said, "I want you to know it's okay, I am with you. Take the needed time to rest and reflect. Have the faith needed to separate the wheat of my will for your life from the chaff of other people's needs for your life. Sort the valuable from the worthless, and then move forward." Matthew chapter 3, verse 12. Then the Holy Spirit brought to my remembrance the temporary retirement of Michael Jordan after his father was murdered, which affirmed all of the decisions I had to make regarding self-care and his purpose. In 1993, Michael Jordan had won 3 straight NBA titles, 3 straight NBA Finals MVP awards, and 7 straight scoring titles. Just a month after MJ won his 3rd NBA title, his father was shot to death while sleeping in his car. Due to his passion for winning, MJ tried to push the emotions of losing his beloved father to the side in order to win 4th NBA title, but he couldn't. In order to win a 4th NBA title, but he couldn't. All appeared to be well with MJ on the outside, but inside he was still deeply grieving the tragic death of his father, James Jordan. MJ stunned the world when he announced his retirement in 1993, citing a loss of desire to play basketball. His teammates, his fans, and the media wanted MJ to work through his emotional pain and play, but he decided it was best to step away from the NBA. MJ's retirement became more baffling when he signed a minor league baseball contract with the Chicago White Sox. When asked about his seemingly radical decision, Jordan said, "Baseball gave me an opportunity to revisit all those moments that I had with my father. It was a therapeutic experience for me." MJ was willing to risk his future success for what he needed most: introspective time to reflect on memories of his father. When Jordan returned to the NBA. In 1995, he was a dramatically changed leader who won 3 more NBA titles. This mental shift led the 1996 Chicago Bulls to an NBA record for most wins in the regular season, 72-10. Jordan did not worry about temporarily stepping off the ladder of success. He needed to heal and rest. Similar, I don't even, similar, I'm just having trouble with that word for some reason. We should never apologize for taking a day off and resting when we need rest. Do not put the cape back on. My beloved mother, Etta Marie Karum, made her transition from hospice to heaven in April 2016. I knew I had given her my all as we walked the last 6 years of her life, hand in hand through the valley of dementia. I truly had no regrets. If you couple that resolution with the peace of Yah that passes all understanding, or surpasses all understanding, I was doing exceptionally well. Within 2 weeks, I was back to busyness of the Union and the Kata. However, after longing for my mother's presence on Memorial Day, I realized something was wrong. I hadn't grieved. It had only been 3 weeks since my mom's death, and I had already people-pleasingly placed one foot back on the hamster wheel of community needs. I hadn't allowed the Most High to establish His process for healing my broken heart. I praised Yah for this revelation because it potentially saved my life. He paused His peace because I was allowing the pressure of being needed to hinder me from experiencing His healing presence. I immediately started making the personal and professional decisions necessary to keep my life rooted in His will and not in others' wants. These decisions cost me future opportunities to advance professionally and financially, but I was not emotionally shaken after making them. I've learned through experience and the teachings of Jesus that making decisions based on money is unwise. My job is to seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33. I felt settled in spirit after making what many would call risky decisions, but my actions were met with sincere skepticism. As Paul Collin, I don't know if I'm saying that name right, but this guy named Paul wrote, "People love the status quo, and when you break from it, like a prisoner over a fence, all kinds of sirens and lights will be thrown on to get you back in the yard. Although I am martially trained to push through any emotion to accomplish any task at hand for others, I am not a superhero. I choose to heed the Holy Spirit and make the best decisions for myself. I had to walk away from $60,000 in grant funding opportunities for my work in the Kata, or the Cave of Adullam Transformational Training Academy. This was a major step for me. We definitely could have used the financial resources. However, the additional responsibilities that came with it would have quickly taken a toll on my health. So many good men burn themselves out by putting the superhero cape back on and hustling for worth in a world that considers you worthless when you can't do something. Who wants to live a life in which you always have to perform for love or significance? We need to stop seeking unconditional love from humans. Ultimately, that's a dead end, and definitely no fun. Throw your cape in the trash and discover the full meaning of rest. Finding fun. I often ask men who attend my workshops to recall the last time they had fun. The majority of men cannot recall a single fun event. I usually get a deer in the headlights response, as if they don't even know what fun is. After a couple of minutes, a few men will speak up and say things such as, "When I go to the park with my kids," or "when I go out to eat with my family." Then I say, "No. When have you had fun either alone or with your male friends?" They usually can't answer that question. If you don't allow yourself time for healthy recreational fun, you're missing out on the crucial part of living. Jesus once said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 in the NLT Bible. New Language Translation, I believe. The word rest in this verse translates not only to intermission or cessation from labor, but also to recreation. In other words, Jesus was also saying, "Come to me and I will give you fun." We need to remember we are human beings, not human doings. Here's an example from my own life. One sunny afternoon, my friend Aaron asked me to go with him to look at bikes for cycling. Although I wanted to experience fun again and deeply desired male companionship, I always seem to sabotage every opportunity to do either. But this time I followed my feeling. When we arrived at the bike shop, I was amazed at how bikes have evolved from the 80-pound Toys R Us specials. Aaron grabbed a bike he was interested in buying and told me to pick one so we could take a test ride. Due to the design of these bikes, pedaling felt effortless. As we reached speeds near 25 miles per hour, as the wind blew on my face, I felt something different. "What is this feeling?" I wondered. Then I heard Yas say, "It's called fun." I chose to purchase that bike, and it's one of the most responsible things I've ever done in my life. Now when I feel overwhelmed, I take an early morning or night ride on my bike as I shellac the cares of the day. And what he means by shellac, the word shellac, is just another way of saying cast away. So he cast away the cares of the day. Since then, I have realized the benefit of fun and recreation in my life, and I also see it in the lives of my friends. Due to my desire for camaraderie, I purchased a bike rack for my truck that can hold 4 bikes in case any of my friends want to join me for a ride. One day, a close friend of mine called and said that he was so upset at his wife, he needed to leave the house. I said, "Okay, grab your bike, I am about to come pick you up." As we cycled around the park, we did shellac, which is like a form of, it's a method or form of meditation in which you cast your worries and cast all your pain and cast all your negative thoughts and feelings toward God. And I helped him reflect, release, and reset. By the time I took him home, his anger toward his wife had subsided. Can you imagine how much enjoyment we as men could have in our lives? Good. Everything's going good. Thank you for asking. Just reading a little. By the time I took him home, his anger toward his wife had subsided. Can you imagine how much enjoyment we as men could have in our lives if we did that every week? Another close friend of mine, Dante, rents a boat and gets up early to go fishing and relax. Then he gets home by 10 a.m. and still has time to spend with his kids because he does that for himself. He is able to respond to his family in love. He says he laughs more since he adopted that practice, and he's able to do other things more from his heart than from being tense and thinking everything is based on being responsible. As men, when we find fun again and implement it into our lives, often we become better fathers, better husbands, and more effective community servants. In the sport of football, when a team is leading with limited time remaining, they will execute plays designed to run the game clock out or leave the other team with little to no time to score if they get the ball back. As the saying goes, the best way to stop a powerful offense is to keep them off the field. In life, one of the best ways to delay the man of the Most High from accomplishing Yah's will is to keep him grinding. It's true that when someone has been given much, much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted with much, even more will be required. Luke chapter 12 verse 48 in the New Language Translation. But it's hard for Yah to use us if we're always tired. Just say no. As cliche as it sounds to just say no, these are wise words worth repeating. Nicole recently asked me, "Why do you always say no when someone asks you for something?" I replied, "If I say no, I can always come back and say yes after I've thought about it. But if I say yes first, I have to fulfill that promise. The scripture says, 'Let your yes be yes and your no, no.'" Matthew chapter 5, verse 37 in the New King James Version Bible. A man of the Most High should never feel pressured into spontaneously reacting to someone's request, but instead should always allow himself the liberty to process the potential results of a decision before he makes one. Luke chapter 14, verse 28. When you wake up and change, people may complain and ask you to keep grinding. Simply say no. In the movie The Matrix, I love the ending fight scene when the agents fire bullets at Neo. Because Neo now knows who he is, he resolves to stand still and deflect their ammunition. I imagine each of those bullets representing words such as people-pleasing, anxiety, fear of failure, and stress. As the bullets make their way toward Neo in slow motion, Neo holds his hands out and says no. The look of determination on his face is priceless. As the bullets stop, suspended in midair, he reaches out to grasp one of the bullets with his fingers, looks at it curiously for a moment, and then drops it to the floor. The rest of the bullets fall to the floor like rocks as the agents stare at Neo in awe. The worst thing you can do is everything. As I said before, nobody will ever stop you from helping them, but you can. Take care of yourself. Learn to say no to people-pleasing, self-doubt, fear of failure, and other toxic emotions and thoughts that keep you going when you need to rest. In the last part of this scene, one of the agents runs towards Neo to attack him. Neo calmly thwarts his attack, deflecting all of his punches. Then, with a sidekick, Neo sends the agent flying backwards and crashing into the cement floor. Endgame. In your real life, these agents, in parentheses, emotions and thoughts, will arise again, but with self-care practice, you can rule them. What does self-care look like? Here are my 5 simple rest reminders. Sleep. Get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep every night and take a 15-minute power nap every day. Shalak. Spend at least 5 minutes both in morning and at night meditating and casting your cares on Yah. Speak. Talk to a counselor a minimum of 4 times a year. Speak with a friend, a mentor, or a coach even more often. Say no. Practice saying no before you say yes. Try this first in the mirror or with a friend. People may not like this new you at first, but trust me, they will eventually respect your boundaries for self-care. Seek fun. Make time for simple recreation weekly, if not daily. Fishing, playing sports, cycling, and ATVing are often favorites among men. Be sure to participate in activities that make you laugh as well. Now arise, warrior. You've had enough rest and recreation to physically and mentally recuperate for this last battle. The life you've longed to live is just before you, but the enemy has surrounded it with the fortified walls of your past emotional pain and trauma. These barriers cannot be demolished until you face them and learn to forgive. So shout a battle cry and yell, Milchema. I forgot what that meant or what that means, but because the next battle is the last for a reason, you will need to apply all that you've learned in order to win the war within. And that was chapter 10 of this book called Battle Cry by Jason Wilson, Waging and Winning the War Within. Chapter 10 was entitled or called Rest Now or Rest in Peace. If you enjoyed that book, I would recommend go grabbing it. I got this on Amazon for only $12. It's a really good book, and to just give you a reminder on what this book is about, I'll read the back again. The greatest battle you'll ever win is the one within yourself. For decades, Jason Wilson was losing the war within, the internal battle that many men waged daily but were never taught how to win. As a result, he could not combat his toxic thoughts and emotions. Instead, he was conquered by them and communicated without composure, hurting those he loved and himself. This went on until he renewed his mind by releasing years of past trauma. His life and relationships were transformed when he learned how to master his emotions and express them with self-control. In the process, Jason became a better husband, father, and leader. In Battle Cry, Jason equips you with the mental and spiritual weapons needed to wage and win your inner war by showing you how to master your emotions rather than be ruled by them, win internal battles before they become external wars, reject the world's definition of masculinity and embrace comprehensive manhood, communicate more effectively with the people in your life, and release trauma from your past so you can live fully to your potential in the present. You can live beyond the limitations of your mind and finally experience the life you've always longed for. You can break through what you've been through. It's time to win the war within. And yep, that's about it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.